The Social Security Administration used to publish a calculator on their website that helped you figure out the best age to file. Then they watched Americans use it, and they took it down. Not because it was broken, because people were building their entire retirement around a single number. It was never designed to give them. If you are within 10 years of 62 or past it, the decision you are about to make has 5 invisible walls around it. I tracked one woman who lost $43,000 in Social Security benefits she had already earned, not because she filed at the wrong age, because nobody told her about a rule that kicks in the moment she kept working. By the end of this, you will see every wall. You will know which ones are between you and your money, and you will have a 3-phase diagnostic to navigate around them. One of those walls involves a year, 2033, that could cut every benefit check in America by more than 20%, and almost nobody is factoring it into their filing decision. Here is how I think about Social Security filing. Imagine you walk into a building, nice lobby, one elevator clearly labeled, buttons for floors 1 through 10. You press your floor and ride up. But behind a plain wall panel in that same lobby, there is a second elevator. No sign, no directory listing. It goes to floors the first one does not reach. Same building, same retirement, completely different destination. Most people never find the panel. Here's what most people see when they think about Social Security. 3 buttons. File at 62. Your benefit is reduced by 30%. Wait until 67, your full retirement age, you get the full amount. Delay to 70. You get 24% more than full. That math is real. Those numbers come straight from SSA's benefit reduction formula. For someone born in 1960 or later with a full retirement age of 67, filing at 62 cuts your monthly check to 70% of what it would have been. And every retirement article you have ever read parks right here. Pick your floor, ride the elevator, done. But I started pulling data 3 weeks ago on what actually happens to people who file at 62. Not the theoretical people, the real ones. And I found 5 walls that the standard 3-button model does not show you. 5 rules, deadlines, and structural traps that silently redirect tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, of dollars. You are not going to hear about these from a break-even calculator. The government already proved that by removing theirs. And look, if you earn between $40,000 and $150,000, you are in the exact income range where these walls hit hardest. Not poor enough for the rules to be irrelevant. Not wealthy enough for them to not matter. Right in the zone where the architecture does its real work. Let me tell you about a woman I will call Denise, 63 years old. Works part-time in hospital administration, earns about $47,000 a year. She filed for Social Security at 62 because she read it was smart to start collecting while you still can. Her monthly benefit came to $1,680. Here is the wall she did not see. In 2026, if you file before your full retirement age and earn more than $24,480, the Social Security Administration withholds $1 of your benefit for every $2 you earn above that limit. Denise earned $47,000. That is $22,520 over the threshold. Half of that, $11,260, was clawed back from her Social Security. Her $1,680 monthly check dropped to roughly $740 for most of the year. She worked 5 days a week at that hospital. She filed for Social Security to supplement her income, and the system quietly took back more than 40% of what it promised her. Now, here is what nobody told Denise and what nobody is telling you. That money is not gone forever. Social Security recalculates your benefit at full retirement age to credit you for the months of withholding. But that recalculation happens years later, And if you needed the cash flow at 63, which Denise did, the promise of a future adjustment does not pay for groceries in March. That is the first wall, and most people hit it at full speed. Denise told me about the day she got the letter. It was a Tuesday. She pulled into her driveway after a 10-hour shift. The envelope was from the Social Security Administration. She opened it standing next to her car. The letter said $4,200 of her benefits had been withheld for the prior quarter. She did the math in her head. 5 months of her work, gone to cover a penalty she did not know existed. Her hands were not shaking from the cold. They were shaking from the math. Her 16-year-old grandson was inside doing homework. She did not tell him. She sat in the car for 10 more minutes. And you might be thinking, okay, but that is her specific situation. She was working. I might not be. Fair. But 44% of Americans now plan to keep earning some income after they start collecting benefits. If that is you, this wall is standing directly in your path. And the earnings test threshold has not been indexed to keep pace with reality. $24,480 is roughly what a part-time retail worker earns. Here is the second wall. And honestly, this one is more of a one-way door. Before 2016, married couples had a strategy. The lower earner could file for spousal benefits, up to 50% of their partner's full retirement age amount, while letting their own benefit grow. Smart coordination, separate decisions. That door closed. Under the deemed filing rule, if you are under full retirement age and you file for any Social Security benefit, you are automatically filing for every benefit you are eligible for. Your own retirement benefit and your spousal benefit, both simultaneously. You do not get to choose one and delay the other. The system used to let you pick your floor. Now it picks for you, and it does not ask which one you wanted. Okay, stay with me. This next part is where the numbers start to compound in a way that changes the entire picture. Every year, Social Security applies a cost of living adjustment, COLA. In 2026, that adjustment is 2.8%. Here is what most people miss. COLA applies to your benefit amount. If your benefit is smaller because you filed early, your COLA increase is calculated on that smaller base. Year 1, the gap seems small, maybe $40 a month, but compounding does not care about year 1. Compounding cares about year 15. By the time you are 77, the difference between a COLA applied to a $1,680 base and a COLA applied to a $2,400 base is not $40 anymore. It is north of $400 a month, and that gap only widens. I ran the projection at a 2.8% average COLA over 20 years. The cumulative gap between filing at 62 and filing at 67 for someone at Denise's benefit level and it was $187,000. That is not theoretical money. That is the difference between having a financial cushion at 83 and not having one. And honestly, this is the strongest argument for waiting. If you are in solid health with savings you can live on until 70 and your family routinely sees their 80s, the math for delaying is powerful. The delayed retirement credit adds 8% per year to your benefit between 67 and 70. That is not compounded. It is a simple increase, but it stacks on top of future COLA adjustments. Multiple credible analyses put the effective internal rate of return for delaying somewhere between 6 and 8%, depending on assumptions. That is hard to beat with a guaranteed inflation-adjusted income stream. That is a reasonable position. I am not here to argue against it. I am here to show you the floors it does not account for. If you are sitting there thinking this is too complicated and you just want someone to tell you the right answer, I get it. The system was designed to be navigated, not understood. But you are still here. That means you are the kind of person who looks for the second elevator. And I am about to show you the floor that changes everything. So far, you have seen two walls: the earnings test, which can claw back more than 40% of your benefits if you file early and keep working above $24,480, and the deemed filing rule, which eliminated the ability to separately time your own benefit and your spousal benefit. Both of these live on floors the main elevator does not reach. And here is what I want you to notice. Each of these walls changes the math of filing at 62, but they change it in opposite directions. The earnings test penalizes early filers. The deemed filing rule removes a strategic advantage of early filing. But the next wall, the trust fund clock, might actually push you toward filing earlier. Same building, same elevator, completely different floor. The next two walls involve a deadline that could reshape every Social Security check in America, and a tax trap that activates the moment your required minimum distributions begin. If you have a 401k or a traditional IRA, and most of you do, this is the section where you need to be awake. Here is a number that should be in every Social Security conversation and almost never is. The Social Security Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund, the reserve that supplements payroll tax revenue to pay current benefits, is projected to be depleted around 2033 to 2035. That is the current estimate from the SSA Board of Trustees. That does not mean Social Security disappears. Payroll taxes will still fund roughly 77 to 80 cents of every dollar owed, but the remaining 20 to 23%, that has no funding source unless Congress acts. Sit with that for a second. If you are 58 today, you will be 65 to 67 when this cliff arrives. If you delayed filing to 70, you would be waiting for the maximum benefit at the exact moment that maximum might be reduced by a fifth. Now, I am not saying Congress will let that happen. I am saying nobody can guarantee they won't. And any filing strategy that ignores this variable is building on an assumption it cannot verify. And you might be thinking, if benefits get cut, they get cut whether I filed early or late. True, but the person who started collecting at 62 has already banked years of full payments. The person who waited until 70 has banked zero. And their first check might arrive at 77 cents on the dollar. Same reduction percentage, very different number of dollars already in your account. That is not a guarantee to file early. That is a variable most calculators refuse to include. Let me tell you about Marcus. He is 58, facilities manager, earns $112,000 a year. His wife Janelle has her own Social Security record. Her full retirement age benefit would be about $1,200 a month. Marcus's would be roughly $2,850. 2 years ago, Janelle was diagnosed with early-stage pancreatic cancer. She is fighting, but their planning horizon changed overnight. Here is the architecture Marcus discovered. If Janelle files for her own benefit now, at the earliest possible date, she starts collecting something. If Marcus delays his benefit to let it grow and Janelle passes away, Marcus continues collecting his own delayed, larger benefit. But if Marcus dies first, which is not impossible, Janelle, as the surviving spouse, can switch to Marcus's benefit. A surviving spouse at full retirement age receives 100% of the deceased worker's benefit amount. The filing sequence matters. The order matters. Who files first? Who delays? Who is likely to survive longer? These are not emotional questions. They are architectural ones. And the architecture rewards the couple who understands it. Marcus told me he ran the spreadsheet 4 times, changed the assumptions each time, life expectancy, COLA rate, filing ages. But the 5th time, he closed the laptop. He looked across the table at Janelle, and he realized the spreadsheet was answering a question that no longer mattered. The question was never which age maximizes lifetime benefits. The question was, how do we make sure whoever is left standing has enough? He filed the next morning, not because a calculator told him to, because the calculator stopped being the point. Okay, this next part. This is the one that made me redo the spreadsheet. Social Security benefits can be taxed. Up to 85% of your benefit becomes taxable income once your provisional income crosses $44,000 for a married couple filing jointly. Provisional income is your adjusted gross income plus non-taxable interest plus half your Social Security benefits. Here is where it gets uncomfortable. If you have a traditional IRA or a 401k, your required minimum distributions begin at age 73. Those distributions are taxable income. They push your provisional income higher, which means more of your Social Security becomes taxable, which means your effective tax rate on Social Security income can spike to levels that would shock you. I ran the numbers for a married couple with $400,000 in traditional retirement accounts. At age 73, their RMDs push them into the zone where 85% of their Social Security is taxable. Their effective marginal rate on that Social Security income, north of 40%. That is not a typo. That is the tax torpedo, and it detonates the year your RMDs begin. But there is a window between the year you stop working and the year your RMDs begin. That window, for some people, is the single lowest income period of their adult lives. If you collect Social Security during that window, your benefits may be taxed lightly, or not at all. Filing early is not always a concession. Sometimes it is a tax play, and it is a play that disappears the moment your required minimum distributions begin. One more layer. If you retire into a market crash, and history says roughly 1 in 4 retirees will experience a significant downturn in their first 3 years, selling investments at depressed prices to cover living expenses can permanently damage your portfolio. Researchers call this sequence of returns risk. The losses at the beginning of retirement weigh more than losses later. Social Security is a guaranteed income floor. Turning it on early during a downturn means you stop selling stocks at a loss. You give your portfolio breathing room to recover. That is not panic. That is structural defense. So, 5 walls. Earnings test, deemed filing. Trust fund cliff, survivor architecture, tax torpedo. You now see the building the way it actually works. Not 3 buttons, 5 hidden floors. The question was never, should I file at 62 or wait until 70? The right question is, which walls am I standing in front of and which elevator takes me around them? Here is how you figure that out. Phase 1, the Health Horizon Scan. Pull up SSA's life expectancy calculator. Enter your birth year and sex. Write down the number it gives you. Now adjust it. If your parents lived past 85 and you are in good health, add 3 years. If you have a serious diagnosis or your family history trends short, subtract 5. That adjusted number is your personal horizon, not the population average, yours. Every filing decision starts here. If your horizon is under 80, early filing gains mathematical weight. If it is over 85, delaying strengthens significantly. If it lands between 80 and 85, you are in the ambiguity zone and you need Phase 2. Time, 8 minutes. A notebook and the SSA website. That is it. You are already ahead of most people. Phase 2, the household architecture map. This is where most people stop. Do not stop. Pull both Social Security statements, yours and your spouse's. Write down 3 numbers for each of you. Benefit at 62, benefit at 67, benefit at 70. Now ask 4 questions. Does one of you have significantly lower lifetime earnings? Is one of you in substantially worse health? Will one of you continue working past 62? Are your combined retirement accounts large enough to trigger a significant tax torpedo when RMDs begin at 73? If you answered yes to any of those, your filing decision is not individual. It is architectural. It involves both of your benefits, your survivor benefit, your tax bracket, and your RMD timeline. Map it on paper. 2 columns. Every income source, every tax trigger, every age where something changes. That is the household architecture. Most people have never seen it laid out in one place. When you do, the right filing strategy usually becomes obvious. A friend asked me last week, "Is this really worth an hour on a Saturday?" I told him what I am telling you. This 1 hour decides the trajectory of every check you will receive for the rest of your life. Phase 3. The stress test. Take whatever filing strategy you chose and run it through 2 scenarios it does not want to face. Scenario 1, the trust fund is depleted in 2034 and benefits are reduced 20%. Does your plan still work? Scenario 2, the market drops 35% in your first year of retirement. Does your plan survive without liquidating at a loss? If it breaks under either scenario, the strategy is fragile. Not wrong, fragile. And fragile strategies fail when you need them most. The couples who run this stress test make different decisions than the ones who do not because they know the future, because they have seen what happens when the future does not cooperate. I spoke to a couple last year, both filed at 62. He is 74 now, she is 72. They know the math. They know they left money on the table. His benefit would have been $800 more per month if he had waited. She has said that out loud more than once. But when I asked him if he would change the decision, he did not hesitate. He said he had been at every birthday, every school play, every Saturday morning with his grandchildren since he was 63 years old. The benefit was smaller. The life was full. And that is not a math answer, but it is an honest one. The Social Security filing decision was never about picking the right age. It was about seeing the building clearly, all 5 walls, both elevators, every floor, and choosing the path that matches the life you are actually living, not the life the break-even calculator assumed you'd live. The Social Security Administration removed their break-even calculator because people treated a starting point as a final answer. Now you know why. And now you know where the second elevator is. Both elevators go up. Both reach retirement. But only one reaches the floor where your money is actually waiting. Next week, I am going to show you the 3 IRA withdrawal sequences that determine whether your retirement savings last 22 years or 14. One of them involves a Roth conversion window that closes faster than most people realize. That video drops Wednesday. If you want to see these walls before you hit them, subscribe. This channel runs the numbers the standard menu does not show you.